I was I was grabbing a bag of chips the other day, and it kind of got me thinking about like how do they make those things so perfectly crisp? It turns out there's actually like a whole science behind it.
It really is.
And at the heart of it all is this job, this role, the dryer attendant. So we're diving deep into this role today using this RoleCatcher guide that you sent over, and trust me, it's way more fascinating than it sounds at first.
It really is. We often, we think of drying as like a very simple thing.
Right, right.
But in industries, like food production or pharmaceuticals, getting that moisture level just right is absolutely critical. It's not just about, making things crunchy. It's about making sure that things are, the right quality, the right safety. It even goes into like meeting certain regulations that are part of these industries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about tossing like clothes in a dryer here. When we say dryer attendant, what does this person actually, like, what do they do on the job?
So they're the ones who are kind of behind the scenes operating and maintaining these massive industrial dryers. So think like rotary dryers, not your household appliance.
Okay, got it.
So they're the ones who are monitoring the instruments, they're adjusting temperatures, managing steam pressure, all to achieve that very precise level of dryness for whatever it is they're working with.
So like the texture of my chips like actually depends on a dryer attendant like doing their job right.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. And it's not just about food either. Imagine, you've got a pharmaceutical tablet that needs to like dissolve properly in your system. That precise dryness is crucial for it to actually be effective. So, these dryer attendants are literally impacting, the quality of products that we use every day.
Wow, I never would have thought about it that way.
Yeah.
This RoleCatcher guide also mentions some potential, I guess, downsides to the job. Um, Noise, heat, even, exposure to chemicals depending on the industry. So not exactly, a day at the beach.
No, not always glamorous.
No, no.
But that's kind of where I think they actually listed as a skill, be at ease in unsafe environments.
Right, right.
And really, it's not about being like comfortable with danger, but it's about being knowledgeable and prepared.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So a skilled dryer attendant understands the risks that come with their specific environment. They follow those safety regulations meticulously, and they know how to properly handle any potentially hazardous materials.
Yeah.
It's a career where really safety and expertise go kind of hand in hand.
So it's more about being aware and prepared than just like being like a daredevil and being like, oh, I'm not afraid of anything.
Exactly.
Okay. RoleCatcher also mentioned, let's see, apply GMP and apply HACCP as like important skills. What are those?
Yeah, those are big acronyms for some pretty essential industry standards. So GMP stands for Good Manufacturing Practices,
Okay.
and HACP stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. Essentially, they're all about making sure the products are made safely and consistently.
Okay, so can you give me like an example of how a dryer attendant might use those principles, like in their day-to-day work?
Yeah. Let's say a dryer attendant's working with like a batch of ingredients for baby food, for example.
Okay.
Applying GMP would mean, they're meticulously cleaning the dryer between those batches to prevent any cross-contamination.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then applying HACCP might involve them identifying potential hazards, something like overheating, which could then affect, the nutritional content of the food, and then implementing those control measures to prevent that from happening. So it's all about being really proactive and detail-oriented when it comes to the safety and the quality of the final product.
Wow. So it's a lot more than just like turning on like a giant drying machine.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a lot of responsibility.
This is skills profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of responsibility, RoleCatcher outlines a potential like career path for these dryer attendants.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily stuck in an entry-level position forever, right?
That's right. It's not a dead-end job by any means. As you get that experience, you can really climb that ladder to more senior positions with greater responsibilities and even leadership roles.
That's interesting. So how does one go from like operating a dryer to say like managing a team of people? Like what are we talking about skills wise?
Well, it starts with, really mastering those technical aspects of the job.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But to progress, they really need to develop a much deeper understanding of that entire process. So this means, learning how to analyze the data that comes from the drying process, how to troubleshoot problems when they come up, and then finding ways to optimize the efficiency of that whole system.
So it's about like critical thinking, like using data to make things even better.
Exactly. exactly. A senior dryer attendant, for example, they might analyze the data coming from the dryer sensors to identify like any patterns or inconsistencies.
Okay, so like,
Right.
give me an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, they might notice, for example, that a particular batch of materials isn't drying at its usual rate, at the rate they'd expect.
Okay.
And by kind of digging deeper into that data,
Hmm.
they might uncover a problem like with the temperature settings or the airflow or something like that,
Oh, okay.
leading to adjustments that then improve that whole process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Save time, save resources.
So it's a lot of like problem solving and like, using your brain, which I guess, some people might not think about when they think of this job.
Yeah, it's not just like, standing there watching a machine. It's really, you have to, like you said, use your brain.
Right. It's more analytical than it might seem on the surface.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of, that problem-solving emphasis, that's actually something that stood out to me in this RoleCatcher guide too.
Oh, really?
They really highlight that because dryer attendants, they need to be really quick on their feet, adaptable, because no 2 days are exactly alike.
Yeah, that makes sense because like if something goes wrong, you got to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you can't just be like, oh, I'll just wait for someone else to fix it, like.
Right. The whole operation could be put on hold.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of like a challenge that like a dryer attendant might encounter, like on the job?
Sure. Yeah. Imagine you're working in a factory and it produces those like fruit snacks,
Oh, yeah.
Everyone loves them.
The chewy ones.
The chewy ones. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And suddenly you notice that the dryer, it's not functioning as efficiently as it usually does. Right. So the drying time for a batch, it's increased, and the texture of those fruit snacks, it seems a bit off.
Oh, no. Soggy fruit snacks are not like nobody wants them.
Oh, no, not good.
What would our dryer attendant do?
So that's where like those problem-solving skills that we talked about, those really kick in.
Okay.
The dryer attendant would need to figure out like what is causing this issue.
Right.
So they might start by, checking the dryer settings, examining the equipment for any malfunctions,
Okay.
maybe even like reviewing recent maintenance logs, seeing if there's a pattern there.
Oh, okay.
They might also need to consider, any external factors like, maybe the humidity levels in the factory, which, believe it or not, that can actually impact the drying process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So it's like being a detective, but instead of clues, you're looking for like data points, mechanical anomalies, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, once they identify the problem, then they need to come up with a solution, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's a simple fix, like, just adjusting the temperature or like cleaning a clogged filter or something.
Right.
But sometimes it requires like more, creative thinking.
Okay.
Like maybe they need to collaborate with the maintenance team to repair a faulty part.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Or even like, suggesting like process improvements to prevent that same issue from popping up again in the future.
Huh.
That's really good. Yeah.
You're right.
Being proactive.
Proactive. Yeah. Thinking ahead.
Yeah, that's really cool. It sounds like a job where you're constantly learning and adapting.
For sure.
Yeah, there's like no room to get bored there,
Definitely not. And speaking of, variety, this RoleCatcher guide, it also mentioned that dryer attendants work with like a surprisingly diverse range of materials.
Yeah.
We've talked about like food and pharmaceuticals.
Right, right.
But what else is out there?
Yeah, what else are we talking
Oh,
about?
it's far more diverse than most people realize, I think. Think about like the paper industry, for example.
Oh, okay.
Dryer attendants, they play a crucial role in that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They ensure that the paper dries evenly.
Okay.
So it doesn't like warp or wrinkle, when it comes out.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And they're also essential in like the manufacturing of textiles, ceramics, even chemicals.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea the reach of this role was so vast.
It's pretty widespread. It really is. It's, So we're talking about like products that we like encounter every single day, pretty much.
Precisely, yeah. Next time you like pull on a cotton t-shirt or you're writing in a notebook,
Yeah.
there's a good chance that a skilled dryer attendant had a hand in, making that product what it is.
That's such a good point. It really makes you appreciate like the unseen hands behind so many everyday items. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a secret society of drying experts
Laugh.
working behind the scenes to make our lives better.
I love that analogy. And,
Yeah.
the RoleCatcher guide, it does emphasize that, no matter the industry, no matter the specific material safety that rings paramount for dryer attendants.
Right, because we were talking about, how important those safety procedures are and just being aware of the potential hazards.
Absolutely.
But like, what are some specific ways that like dryer attendants contribute to a safe working environment?
Well, for starters, they're trained to identify and report any potential safety concerns. So, this could be anything from like equipment malfunctions to like spills, that sort of thing.
Right, right.
They're also responsible for following, very strict protocols for handling those potentially dangerous materials,
Right.
which might involve wearing, protective gear or operating specialized ventilation systems,
Oh.
things like that.
So it's about being proactive and taking responsibility for, not just their own safety, but like the safety of the people around them too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team effort for sure.
Right.
And it's not just about like reacting to, immediate dangers,
Yeah.
either.
Okay.
Dryer attendants, they often play a role in those preventative safety measures as well.
But
So they might be involved in, routine equipment inspections or safety audits,
okay.
or even training new employees on those safe operating procedures,
Hmm.
making sure everybody's on the same page.
So there's like an element of like almost like leadership kind of woven into that role, even if it's like an entry level position.
Absolutely. A good dryer attendant, they're not just focused on their own tasks.
Right.
They're thinking about that bigger picture of workplace safety.
Yeah.
And they're contributing to that culture of responsibility, which is so important.
Which makes sense, especially when you think about like how potentially like some of these industries could be kind of risky if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
You definitely want someone who's really on top of those safety protocols and isn't afraid to like, speak up if something seems off.
Exactly. You want someone who's paying attention.
Yeah, and not just like, trying to like just get their work done and go home. Like, really like looking out for themselves and their colleagues.
Precisely. And that, that sense of responsibility and attention to detail, that's something that can be incredibly valuable as a dryer attendant progresses in their career.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which, maybe we can circle back to that career path that's outlined in this RoleCatcher guide.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because I imagine with like the right experience, the right skills, you could really, work your way up in this field.
Yeah, you really could. You really could. The RoleCatcher guide, it actually highlights like several potential paths for like moving up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. A common one is moving into like a supervisory role.
Okay.
So you'd be overseeing a team of dryer attendants, coordinating like, production schedules, making sure the quality control is happening across the board, that sort of thing.
So like from managing a single dryer to like managing a whole team of people managing dryers.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What would you say are like the key skills that someone would need to kind of like make that jump successfully?
Well, on top of all that technical expertise we talked about,
Yeah.
you need those strong leadership and communication skills.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. Because now you're dealing with people as much as you are the machines.
Exactly. You've got to be able to, motivate your team, delegate tasks out effectively, and then be able to, resolve conflicts constructively when they come up, which they always do.
Right, of course. And then also, I guess you kind of have to be able to like be that go-between your team and like other departments, right? To make sure everyone's on the same page.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're kind of that liaison, making sure that everything's flowing smoothly.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like, it's not just like you're saying enough to know the technical stuff.
Yeah.
You got to have those people skills too.
Exactly. You've got to have that balance.
Are there any other like career paths that are mentioned in this RoleCatcher guide?
Yeah. Actually, for those who are like, really passionate about optimizing processes, improving efficiency, there's the path of like becoming a process engineer or a continuous improvement specialist.
Okay, now we're getting into like the really serious sounding job titles.
I know, right?
What would someone like in one of those roles actually do?
So they basically use like their deep understanding of the drying process,
Yeah.
to analyze data, to identify any bottlenecks, and then to like implement changes that, ultimately improve that efficiency, maybe reduce waste, or even just, enhance the product quality even further.
Okay.
They might like experiment with different drying techniques, test out new equipment, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. So they're like the innovators.
Yeah.
The ones that are like constantly pushing the boundaries of like what's possible, but in the world of drawing.
Exactly.
That's so cool. I never would have thought that like a job that, kind of starts with operating a dryer could lead to like a career where you're at the forefront of like innovation in a particular industry. That's really neat.
It is. It's really cool. And it just highlights how important, you know, that continuous learning is, that professional
Right.
development. The RoleCatcher guide really emphasizes how valuable it is to, like, stay up to date on the latest technologies, those best practices that are always evolving, those safety regulations. All of that is constantly changing.
Which makes sense because it's like if you're in one of these industries where things are always changing, like food production or pharmaceuticals,
For sure.
you got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, you don't want to be using outdated methods.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what are some ways that like dryer attendants can kind of like continue to learn and grow throughout their careers?
Well, a lot of companies, they offer like on-the-job training programs,
Okay.
maybe some mentorship opportunities, even like tuition reimbursement for, relevant coursework or
Oh,
certifications.
wow, that's great.
Yeah, and there are also like industry associations, conferences.
Okay.
Those provide opportunities to network with other professionals, share knowledge, learn about the latest and greatest.
So even for like, someone who's maybe just starting out as a dryer attendant or someone who's been doing it for a while and wants to, kind of move up,
Yeah.
there's always like those opportunities to keep learning and keep growing.
Absolutely. And it's not just a job, it's a career path with, real potential.
Totally. Well said. It's been so eye-opening to like, really explore like the ins and outs of this role.
It's a hidden gem in a way.
Yeah, it really is. Huge thanks to you for, coming on and sharing like all your insights and expertise.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I always enjoy these conversations.
And for you listening, we hope this deep dive has, not just like, taught you about like the world of drawing, but we hope it's kind of sparked your curiosity about, other hidden complexities,
Right, exactly.
unexpected career paths that, exist everywhere. We just don't always think about them.
The next time you're enjoying like a perfectly crisp snack, maybe you're taking like a life-saving medication or even just like jotting down a note in your favorite notebook. Take a moment to like appreciate that skilled dryer attendant who
Yeah.
played a part in making that possible.
Yeah.
Their dedication to precision and safety, it really does like touch our lives in countless ways that we don't even realize.
Perfectly said. Keep those curious minds engaged, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive into a new and fascinating field.